r/ask Reddit. What is the most bizarre reason a customer got angry with you? I worked at a Burger King in high school. A guy comes in one day complaining he put in money to get a newspaper in the machine outside, and it wasn't this Sunday's paper. He wanted a refund. I told him we didn't own that machine, and we weren't able to give him his money back. I also mentioned to him it was actually Saturday, not Sunday. He flew into a rage. Threw last week's Sunday edition of the paper all around the restaurant and behind the counter. My manager comes out and threatens to call the cops. Dude leaves screaming about how we ripped him off. Sometimes you can't fix stupid. All that for $1.50? MFW. I went into a gas station store to get my $1 back after the air pump machine ate it. Though I was polite about it and they said they knew the machine was broken, so they gave me the $1. A woman and her high school daughter walk up to me while I'm working in Bath and Body Works. Here's how the convo goes. Mom, we don't know what they are called, but you know those things you can wear around your neck and you clip keys or badges to them? Do you sell those here? Me. Oh. Do you mean lanyards? Mom, what did you call them? Me. Nothing. You said you didn't know what those things are called. They are called lanyards. Unfortunately, we do not sell them here. Maybe check Hot Topic. Mom, whatever. Thanks for wasting my time. As they turned to leave, the daughter turned behind her mom's back and mouthed, "I'm sorry," to me. Poor girl. That mom was nuts. You lanyard. If you keep saying that word again and again. Apparently when she said she wanted a hot fudge sundae, she meant strawberry sundae. You're supposed to read customers' minds, you know. S. No need to add the S. I read your mind and knew it was sarcasm. Apparently I didn't greet her at the drive-thru with enough enthusiasm. But the real gag is it wasn't even me on the speaker, and when I corrected her she got even madder. Edit. Wow, thanks for the silver. And a ton of karma. It's sad that this is such a relatable post, really. Hope you're all doing well. Now, imagine being her child. Babies raising babies. I had several people yell at me after I called them out for trying to steal shit. Even after pointing out the cameras in the store. Some would guarantee I would be losing my job after they spoke with corporate. It's amazing how much power people think they have. I'm gonna complain and get exactly what I want. No. Beach. That isn't how the world works. Don't be dumb. Edit. Alright. I've gotten plenty of comments sharing how I'm wrong to say it doesn't work in their favor all the time. When angry customers are being escorted off property and claim they are going to get employees fired by complaining to corporate, they are wrong. Sure, there are some special cases, which are truly terrible, but most of the time, those threats are empty. Companies don't want to pay severance and don't want to hire new lackeys. They do, however, want customers to quit their beaching, so they frequently offer discounts coupons. This is exceptionally frustrating for us poor retail workers who got spit in the face, either literally or figuratively. Both works, by shitty people who were later rewarded for their shitty behavior. I get it. I also worked over a decade in various retail and hospitality businesses. In short, yes, they have more power than they should, and yes, they have inflated egos because their previous behavior was rewarded by dumb corporations. But also no, customers do not always get what they want. They get something similar, but rarely is someone fired for doing their job even if the customer disagrees that their job had been done well. Sadly, there are a lot of spineless, cowardly managers who will give them whatever they want if they complain. I used to deliver pizza. I had someone get irate and refuse the delivery because they'd ordered it to be delivered at 7 PM and I got there at 6:55. I hope people just stood there for 5 minutes refusing to hand it over till 7 exactly. They wanted a new pizza because they said the one I brought would be cold by 7 when they wanted to eat. I told them we'd have to bake a new pizza then and it'd be late. They opted for late. I ran a few more deliveries with their pizza in my backseat and went back around 7:30 with the exact same pizza but told them it was a new one. They opened it to make sure it was hot and were happy with it. Then they called to complain about the experience. Then we had to update our order policy that if you specify a delivery time we can only guarantee a time range and not a specific minute. Worked at Walmart and this guy went through my line buying something for his tires. He accidentally got two different things. One was a lot more expensive than the other. He got pissed, looking at his receipt, and demanded to know why one cost more money. I looked at the products and noticed one had some gel inserted in the product. I told him this and he demanded to know why this made the product more expensive. I explained to him I knew nothing about cars and was just a cashier, but he could go to customer service to exchange the more expensive product for the cheaper one. He then refused to leave my line until I lowered the price of the more expensive product. BTW, I was working the express checkout line on Friday at 5:30 and a huge line was forming behind this man-child. My manager finally got him to leave the line and go to customer service, though his son was in line behind him and apologized for his father's actions. Good son. I've had to do this on my mother's behalf at an 85-degree bakery. I still feel bad for the guy behind the counter. Edit. I might have an Asian mom. By apologizing afterwards, I think he felt a lot better with himself. They noticed I had an accent. I'm from Southern Virginia and North Carolina area, and pointed it out as Russian. I don't know how they possibly thought my accent was Russian, but I corrected them and they got angry that I was being condescending to them. The personification of a Facebook moms group troll looking for a fight regardless of logic and sound maturity. Facebook moms group, you type with an accent. He got caught having his 4 and 6-year-old nephews hide merchandise under his wheelchair for the third time. Mostly video games and controllers. He accused me of hating disabled people as he was being kicked out. I was just the cashier by the front door. Literally wasn't involved at all. Edit. I've noticed some common questions, thoughts, and I'd like to clear them up. Q. How on earth did he steal games? Aren't they locked up? A. It's simple. My store sucked. The games were kept behind plastic doors that were too small for the shelf they were attached to. People found out pretty quickly that you could bend the plastic back and reach in and grab the items. Someone even stole a PS3 this way. Games and controllers that had the spider alarm were much easier to steal. Cameras are expensive and my store only kept them faced on where the expensive merchandise was displayed, so you could take the items, go to another part of the store, and then damage the crap out of the boxes to get around the spiders. Sometimes people would give up and I'd come across the left behind mangled carcass of an iPod Touch. Coincidentally, my store also had the highest theft rates out of all the stores in the country. No idea why. SQ. What do you mean? Kicked out? Employees can't really do anything. A. You're right. We had security. I don't know exactly what all they could do because I was just a lowly cashier and I was not paid enough to care about anything. I just saw it was a big commotion with a lot of yelling and somehow I got caught in the crossfire. I found out about the man's repeat offenses later as I was talking to my manager. Q. What were you really doing to set him off? A. I've thought about this a lot today and honestly, I led you guys astray. I wasn't an innocent party. The fact of the matter is, I made eye contact with the man. It's my mistake and I own up to it. I'm sorry everyone. I remember being screamed at every time the cigarette prices went up. How am I supposed to afford that? I don't know, sir. I'm a 15-year-old girl. Note, this was 20 years ago. I think the law has changed, but at least at the time, yes, minors were allowed to sell tobacco products. And yes, as a then 15-year-old girl, sometimes being yelled at did make me cry. I worked at a gas station in high school and was in charge of changing the prices on the sign outside. As I was using a 20 featuring pole and suction cup and struggling to swap plastic numbers, I would get screamed at by people in their cars. Mom, I'm a teenager, I don't set gas prices for Royal Dutch Shell, and the prices are already set on the pumps. This sign doesn't control the oil market. Are the prices on the pumps controlled remotely? Because I didn't open up shop an hour before opening time, because he was here now, so open the store. He kept banging on the door and then threw a metal bucket at my head. Good times. We used to hide as if a psycho killer were trying to find us whenever a customer rocked up before opening hours. They're the worst, and they always say they don't mind that you're still cleaning, setting up, whatever, but they'd be the first to see you if they tripped over the cleaning supplies. Worst thing is, we only sold deep fried food. It was 10 in the morning. I applied another discount to the total instead of the promoted discounts to save her more money. Had to get into an argument with her just to explain I'm trying to save her more money. She wasn't having it. Pay more money. I don't ducking care anymore. Reminds me of when I was at Subway once and the lady in front of me ordered 2 6-inch meatball subs and at the end the guy was like, let me ring that up as a single 12-inch to save you some money, and the lady lost her shit. Guy was like, right, okay, 2 6-inch meatball subs it is then. You're right. WHO gave you permission to save me money. A woman I had never met or seen in my life asked me where her kids were. I was confused and said I'm sorry, I don't know, and she yelled and asked where they put them. She stormed off angry at me. I never had a clue why she asked me. I can tell from your kind eyes that they are in your heart and on your mind. I was a department manager in a health and beauty section next to the pharmacy of a grocery store. A guy came in and asked for an antifungal called Miconazole that the doctor suggested for an infection on his face. Now, as some of you may know, Miconazole is very commonly used for yeast infections in the vagina, so it is sold by the feminine hygiene products, pads, tampons, etc. I took him over there, pointed out the Miconazole and showed him that we carried a generic store brand as a cheaper alternative. Dude was absolutely pissed off that I suggested he put kitten cream on his face and demanded to speak to a manager. I told him that I was the department manager and he argued, saying there's no way a chick is in charge of men, and left. Or so I thought. Apparently, he had wandered the department and found the nearest male employee, who then brought the customer to his manager, me. When he had no idea where or what Miconazole was, the customer refused again to listen to me, so I told the stocker to bring him to the pharmacist, also a woman LMAO, to discuss his needs. Next thing I heard was him screaming at the pharmacist, demanding to talk to someone who knew what they were talking about. He was asked to leave and eventually security was called to escort him out when he continued to rant and rave about women who know nothing about his medical needs. I'm dying over kitten cream LMAO. LOL. I work in the auto industry and it's amazing how many men have told me I don't know what I'm talking about since I am a woman. Whenever this happens I take them to our manager, who is a woman. Always a riot. I had a guy stick to his guns about it though. He entered her office, balked briefly, then stuck out his hand and said let's start by agreeing that women don't know anything about cars. Didn't go over as well as he hoped, but I commended his effort to stick with his spiel. I think I've told this story once in a post somewhere else, probably with one of my old accounts. I used to work deli for a New England grocery chain. Working in Vermont, working in one of the bigger stores meant that we would often be loaned out during ski season to small stores with big holiday booms. It was very busy for them, about normal for my store. I was slicing cheese for a woman, who got real angry that I hadn't stacked her cheese perfectly straight, which blew my mind. Who expects deli sliced cheese to be stacked perfectly? The story has a happy ending though. Her exact, indignant words were, where I'm from in New York they stack the cheese perfectly straight, and the guy behind her, a regular the local employees had greeted by name, piped up and said, well then maybe you should go the duck back to New York. Best moment I've ever had at work. I used to live in New York and have never once been to a deli that stacked cheese perfectly straight. Wonder what magical instance of NY she lived in. Her parents bought her Kraft singles and told her it was deli sliced. This lady at Walmart once got really pissed off at me because we didn't sell pasteurized eggs, and this wasn't the loud, screaming kind of pissed off. She just looked at me very intensely and spoke at low volume, over enunciating every syllable, and said tell your managers to order pasteurized eggs. This other lady grabbed my arm and started pulling on me, telling me that the fact that we shut down our sewing department felt like we had killed her child, and that less and less people were going to come to Walmart because of stuff like that, and that we would have to close down. Did those sewing departments ever even count as open? I don't think I've ever seen anyone staffed there. It's pretty much just who the duck ever decides to help. A customer came in to buy hand sanitizer. She brought her bottle to the register to purchase it, saw there was some at the register, then proceeded to share her vast knowledge of swear words with great vigor with me, swearing she would never shop with us again. What? Clearly you should have known what she was there for. Stopped her at the door and let her know it can be found at the register. I mean, how lazy are you? Lady walked into my office asking for one of my colleagues. I explained to her that he actually works out of a different office, which is listed in his email signature and our website. She was upset, as she had documents to drop off to him. I explained to her that his office is only 3 minutes down the street if she wanted to make the drive, or I could scan her documents and email them to him. She refused, so I said, well, you can leave them here with me and I can ask the guy to come pick them up tomorrow. She again said no, because she didn't trust me. I explained that I am the director of operations for the company, basically my colleague's boss. She then yells that she doesn't know me and this is extremely sensitive information and storms out. 1 minute later, she comes in and asks for my business card to prove I am who I say I am. LOL. I give her one, and she leaves her stuff with me and storms off again. Sometimes people yell that they know our company's CEOs and they'll get me fired. Things like Carmen is a good friend of mine and I'm going to have her fire you. Or I saw Mike in the warehouse and I'm going to march right up to him and tell him to fire you. The problem with this is always that A, Carmen is a guy and B, nobody ever knows where Mike is except Carmen and their assistant. And if people elsewhere in the company do know where Mike is, he's on vacation not halfway across the country fiddling with boxes in a warehouse. My favorite was when a guy threatened to have me fired unless I reactivated his account because Carmen and I are good friends now and I'm going to have him fire you because I'm meeting him in his office in about 20 minutes and he's waiting to sell me a truckload of mattresses. Okay, but A, I know Carmen threatened to sue you if you ever did business with us again, and B, Carmen's office is directly next to mine and he is not there and has no scheduled meetings today, and C, we do not have any truckloads of mattresses at the moment. Carmen told me you'd say that, and S, he says that if you don't help him her unload these mattresses and reactivate my business then your ass is grass. I was working at a coffee and wine bar when I had a man scream at me because he ordered the regular and I didn't know what he wanted. It was my first time meeting him, which catastrophically aligned with the first time I was left to take care of the register alone. I couldn't get away from the yelling, "Where the hell do you think you're going?" close bracket, in order to ask the people in the back what he wanted. His regular got written out, laminated, and pinned to the cash register after that. He kept screaming, "Do you know who I am?" over and over, which, no sir, I do not know who you are. This is the first time we met. Also it turns out he was no one but a dong. Edit. Don't remember all the particulars of his regular, but I do remember it was an espresso drink where he wanted you to put brown sugar in the milk before you steamed it, then add some boiling water to the top after it was all put together. There was probably another incantation involved, but it's been a while. Edit 2. Also, I don't really blame the owner. It was a new family-owned business, not a Starbucks, that she really wanted to have as a hangout for locals. She was worried about rocking the boat banning people. We only banned 2 people in my 2 years of working there and that was fun. It honestly astounds me that some customers think they're so special that we will remember their regular order despite seeing hundreds of people and talking hundreds of different orders a day. But like, I'll admit, I memorized like 3 out of every 150 orders because those people came in like clockwork daily. But I still can't understand the logic of going up to someone that you've also never seen before and expecting them to know what you want. Mayo people are wild. I was a cashier. It was an old woman. Whole Foods. Back when they had the app to scan for little to no savings. She couldn't get her app to work. I spent 5-10 minutes trying to help, looking at her phone, etc. She gave up and her transaction goes through. As she shouts, "I got it open." I looked at her and said, "I'm sorry, the transaction went through. I can't scan the app at this point." She gave me a dirty look, went to the front desk, told my manager I was a beach and walked away. It's people like her who I just think are gonna die so sad and angry. Normally the thought that they're going to wallow in their own misery puts me in the best of moods, but then I realize that they're not going quietly into the night. No, angry, unhappy people like that seem to be hell-bent on taking the rest of us down with them. Don't get me wrong, me and depression go way back. I completely understand being a miserable bastard. I will just never understand the need to take it out on other people. Got yelled at for saying no problem instead of you're welcome. I hate this so much. Lol, you're welcome signifies that I've done a favor for you and now need praise. No problem signifies, well, that it wasn't a problem and helping people is just what you ducking do. Sharon. I've been yelled at by a grumpy old man for the same exact thing. My first real job was at a Culver's, and one of the regulars would always order a mushroom and Swiss. Hold the mushroom, hold the Swiss. When I finally had a chance to take the guy's order, I straight told him that we make the burger exactly the same as the standard hamburger, Butterburger, if you're familiar with the chain. Dude flipped his lid, started raving about how he used to own his own Culver's in another city and that if they were just using regular burgers for the mushroom and Swiss, that he'd take it right up the chain and get us all fired. Edit. Lot of replies here, and I feel like I need to add that this was over 20 years ago. Maybe they did things differently than they do now, but there was no difference in how the M&S was made compared to a regular Butterburger back then. Having been to Culver's last night, it seems to me that what he really wanted was to be charged $2 more than the regular price for a regular Butterburger, but to receive a regular ass burger, I might be inclined to accept his terms. Customers are more than happy to pay extra as long as they get to order their special way. Can I have a plain ham ad patty please? Yeah, I can put that through as a double cheese. Plain no cheese. Save 50p plain ham ad patty. I used to work for Best Buy and Geek Squad but would cover PC occasionally. I had someone get mad at me because the quality of Intel chips has been steadily going down and they wanted me to give them a discount to buy an Intel laptop. They obviously knew it was a manufacturer's thing as they even talked to me about how Intel is pushing their resources into quantum computing and not advancing current hardware the same way. Like, I can't just call someone at Intel and tell them to change their focus. I can't give you 20% off a new laptop because you dislike AMD and the price for performance doesn't really match anymore. This sounds like when my father-in-law started calling his son, who has a job in oil and gas, every time his gas prices changed. I had a customer storm upstairs to customer services to make a complaint because we'd moved menswear upstairs and he couldn't get upstairs because of his knees. So he went upstairs. About all I could do was call the support desk and apologize for what they were about to receive. Edit. We had an elevator, but he was also claustrophobic, apparently. That reminds me of the time my daughter was in the hospital. There was a kid, maybe 5-6 from the sounds, slightly developmentally disabled we learned later, that was in a wheelchair and didn't want to go to physical therapy because she wasn't able to walk there. Like physically she was unable to walk there. So to emphasize this point she gets out of her wheelchair and runs up and down the hallway screaming that she can't walk to physical therapy. We could hear mom just ducking, dying laughing. Guy was irate because I didn't get his pizza delivered in time. He yelled at me and said he didn't want it and would never order again. I got back in my car and as he stared me down from the porch I started eating his pizza. I took a couple of bites then drove off with both hands on the wheel and a piece of pie hanging out of my mouth. He was very polite when he ordered again a few days later. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.